again in the city of Mobile, and we're at a place I've never been before, even though I live less than an hour from here. And this is one of those places. This is by far the biggest cemetery besides Arlington that I have actually been in. This place is absolutely just huge. Now, this cemetery is Magnolia Cemetery. It was established in 1836. However, there are graves much older than that are here. And this is just blocks from downtown Mobile. And some of these graves date back to War of 1812 killed in action. And then later they would establish, here in the background, you make it out, a military cemetery. And not only just a military cemetery, but there's also a Confederate rest here, which is a Confederate cemetery. And this cemetery tracks over 120 acres. That's a big cemetery. So there are people that we want to find that are buried here, notable in history. Two people of which I really want to find, but there's no map of this cemetery, believe it or not. I could not find a map of this cemetery and headstones anywhere. So I'm guessing, I know what section they're buried in. They're buried in the military section, but I'm going to have to find it for myself once I get into the military section, which is going to be a job. I didn't realize just how big this place was. Now, one of the structures I come across is a mausoleum that I thought was very ornate and very cool. So let's check this thing out. And of course I've got it locked, but just give you a peep inside. Oh wow. Now there is one nice thing about this cemetery, is that I can actually drive to whatever section I need to go to. But me, I like to walk too. So I'll get out of the truck to go find a grave, and I'll wind up staying out of the truck for gosh knows how long. I see some tombstones over there I want to check out. Let's go check them out. What I really wanted to take a look at was these Celtic or Irish style crosses. Now, if something ever happened to me, which it is one day, this is kind of what I want my tombstone to look like. I'm not Catholic, but I am of Irish and Scottish origin, and I've always liked the symbology of the Celtic cross. Now, the cool thing is that one of the graves that I wanted to check out was a Confederate general during the Civil War. And, well, I think I found it by accident. Okay, well, I did not find General Bragg, which is who I was looking for. But I did find his brother, who is John Bragg. And this is Mary Frances Hall, wife of John Bragg. And she's buried on this side. But John Bragg built a house here in Mobile, the Bragg Mitchell Mansion. And Braxton Bragg stayed there for a short time. So, pretty cool. Now, one of the things I realized, actually today, is that monuments like this, you know, this looks exactly like the George Washington Memorial in Washington, D.C. Well, I just realized this is what it is. It's basically an oversized tombstone. How neat is that? Okay, this is by far one of the coolest cemeteries I've been to. And you may ask yourself, well, why are you trudging through a cemetery? Okay, so let me explain this. Cemeteries give us a lot of information about history. Everyone dies, okay? We cannot go back in time. We can't meet George Washington. But what we can do is the next best thing, visit their tombstone and gravesite. Oh my gosh, look at this memorial. It is massive. That thing's probably 30, 40 foot tall. Okay, so the main portion of the cemetery here in Mobile at Magnolia Cemetery that I wanted to check out today is the Confederate Rest Cemetery, which houses a couple of really well-known people and soldiers from the Civil War. So let's check this cemetery out and see what we can find. Okay, one of the cool parts about military history and Civil War history is when you find the tombstone of one of the men who you have studied about a lot. And for me, that is General Braxton Bragg. General Bragg, his remains lie right here. Now, Bragg served during the Second Seminole Wars. He also served during the American Civil War. And without getting too much into his military background, he was commander over the Army of Mississippi, later became the Army of the Tennessee, and he was at Shiloh. He was at Perrysville. He was at Chickamauga. And his final resting place is right here. He died in Galveston, Texas on September the 27th, 1876. And he just suddenly collapsed unconscious in the middle of the street in Galveston. Well, they drug his body into a drugstore, tried to, get him to come to, and unfortunately he died. And this is where he's buried. In front of him lies a lot of the troops that he commanded. Now, I thought this was very cool. This is in memory of the men of the Mobile Rifle Company, who were a home guard type company, and they served in the Confederate Army from 61 to 65. And they consisted of a lot of Mobile Corps of Cadets. Now, the statue that sits on top was actually taken from another statue, and you can see remnants of a rifle which he was originally holding. This statue was struck by lightning, and it stood somewhere else in Mobile, and it was bought here as a memorial to the men here. Wow, so many men are buried here, including some unknown Confederate soldiers, Spanish Guards, 2nd Alabama Reserves, Buchanan's Battery, 1st Mississippi, 3rd Mississippi, 42nd, 22nd Louisiana, 42nd Alabama, unknown Confederate soldier. And that just goes on and on and on. Tombstone here that's different from the rest around it. And this is to Thomas Sanders, Tuscaloosa County. Can't really read the rest of it. He died in 1864. Okay, so one of the things I noticed that caught my attention that I did not know was here is this grave. Unknown sailor, Confederate States Navy, killed in action June the 19th, one day after my birthday, 1864, aboard the CSS Alabama. Now, on the back is the cool part. And this is a quote by the Captain Raphael Sims about the unknown soldiers, and especially this sailor. Confederate States of America, unknown sailor, killed in the battle off Cherbourg, France. The flag that floats over you is that of a young republic who bids a defiance to her enemies. Whenever and wherever found, show you the world that you know how to uphold it. go to your quarters. Captain Raphael Sims. And his remains were interred on July the 28th, 2007. Wow, that is pretty freaking cool. So, yeah, very neat. And what we're going to do now is attempt to find the last two graves that I come here to see before we get stormed on. And yes, I just drew blood. I hit that rose bush. Didn't know it was thorny. Of course, I'm looking at graves, not paying attention. And I was wounded in the Confederate cemetery. It's pretty funny. Wow. A lot of graves here. Now, one thing that I did notice was a wreath that's been here since last Christmas. And it's just laying on the ground in the mud. So we're going to do the proper thing and put it on top of his tombstone. So apparently at the top of this statue is where that Confederate soldier that we were at earlier once stood, but was struck by lightning, and they moved it there. And yeah, looks like there's a mosquito pit. Okay, so the monument that I thought I was looking for and I thought I had found actually is not the monument I was looking for that I thought I found. I'm out here looking for the monument to the men of the H.L. Hunley, who died off the coast of South Carolina during the Civil War and was the first successful mission of sinking a warship by use of a submarine. Now, why is the monument here when the men are in South Carolina? Well, the Hunley was built in Mobile, and before the Hunley, there was the Pioneer 1 and Pioneer 2, which were built here. The Pioneer 1 sank in Mobile off of a test run that the men were doing, and the crew died. The Pioneer 2 made it to New Orleans and was sunk deliberately by Confederate troops as the Union were sieging the city of New Orleans. Now, then the Hunley was built. The Hunley was successful until the men died during that mission after sinking the ship. Well, we didn't find that memorial yet, and maybe we will. But this is a memorial to the Alabama State Artillery. Okay, so these men were called the Continentals. And Charles, I can't really see the last name, but he was born in 1833 and he died in 1831. So maybe he was the founder. I think that's 18, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's 61. I can't see it, the tombstone's so worn down and weathered. But this is cool. They have mortars surrounding this memorial. And we're fixing to get wet. Oh, geez. Okay. Okay, so the memorial I'm looking for is nowhere in sight on this section. So maybe it's on the U.S. section. We can only hope. Also, the grave of Geronimo's son, Chacho Geronimo, was one of the other little places I was looking for. We did find Bragg. We did find some very cool other stuff, but that's not what I'm searching for. Hopefully we will find it. But either way, we're gonna love learning some history today, some things I didn't know, and we're gonna continue on. All right, so there's one more thing I noticed I want to check out before we leave here. And it's just another tombstone that stands out among all the other tombstones. And I don't really know what it is. That's the reason why we're here, to learn. So let's check it out. So what we have is the grave of Captain Harry Hunter, who was a Texas Ranger and died on October 11, 1864. I'm gonna have to look him up. I've never heard of him. Pretty cool. So apparently right here lies 3 men who died in defense of the city of Mobile. So yeah, they died at Blakely. pretty cool. Now, as we are leaving, I noticed one other cool thing, and it's a broken tombstone, but it's J.H. Aladowski, I guess. A native of Poland, died at Columbus, Georgia, August the 16th, 1878, 79 years old. No idea who he was, but we are going to find out because I'm going to research him. There's a reason why he's here. Okay, so we're going to leave here because that storm's bearing down on me, and I don't want to get struck by lightning in the graveyard. Well, at least I won't have to take me too far. But anyway, we're going to try to find the Hunley Memorial and also the grave of Chacho Geronimo. Where they are, well, who knows? Okay, so as we were getting ready to leave here, guess what I stumbled across? The monument to the men of the Hunley. Okay, so the unknown soldier or sailor that we were talking about is right there in the background. But the back of this monument said something about the Daughters of the Confederacy. I didn't think anything of it. I come around to the front, here we go. Lieutenant George E. Ditson, CSA, 1837 to 1864. And here are the names of the men who were on the Hunley and the builder of the Hunley. And this monument is to the known and unknown men of Mobile and others who perished in the Confederate submarine, the Hunley, that happened in 1864 as the Hunley sunk a Union war vessel. Horace L. Hunley, the man who built the Hunley and the Hunley was named after, Robert Bradbank, Joseph Patterson, Thomas Park, Charles McHugh, Henry Beard, John Marshall, Charles Sprague, and George S. Dixon. Now, on board the Hunley, whenever they were doing the restoration work after they pulled it up, they found the gold coin that Dixon carried in his pocket. On that gold coin, it was bent from a bullet, and it was inscribed, "My life preserver," and it was given to him by his wife. And I think it was at Shiloh, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Shiloh or Chickamauga, one of the two. That coin was struck by a Union bullet, and it saved Dixon's life. Well, after that coin saved his life, which he carried on him for the duration of the war until his death, he then died on board the Hunley. So a very tragic story. Okay, so the storm is bearing down on me, but here at Magnolia Cemetery, there are a couple of different sections of the cemetery, including this one behind me, which is the National Military section of the cemetery, where all of the U.S. soldiers are buried and veterans are buried. Now, within here are veterans from the War of 1812, men killed there, and it's lightning, so I gotta hurry. But I want to show you one specific grave of a man by the name of Chapo Geronimo. Now, why does that sound familiar? Well, you may know the name Geronimo. Geronimo was housed in this area as a prisoner. Now, his son Chapo was also housed as a prisoner at a place called Mount Vernon. Now, Chapo not only fought against the United States, but also fought for the United States. Yeah, weird. But this is where he is laid to rest, right over here. This is the grave of Chapo Geronimo, 621-B. But Chapo was the son of the infamous Geronimo. And Chapo made his way to Mount Vernon as a prisoner and then ultimately was buried right here. So that is pretty cool. I've always wanted to see Geronimo's son's grave because I have a Native American background in my family and I live on the reservation. So pretty cool for me to actually see that. Now, not only do you have World War I veterans such as Mr. Charles M. Barton, Alabama, PFC Company I, 17th Infantry Division, and he's buried right here. 17th Infantry, 11th Division. And then you have Lemon Moy Sanders Jr., United States Marine Corps, 1934. But you also have some Spanish-American War veterans such as Charles Boone of Company D, 50th Iowa, and he's buried here. Now this is what I found cool. This is Mr. George Lang, Sergeant Company H, 52nd Armored Infantry during World War II. That's pretty neat. He was a member of the 52nd. So it's not going to be long before I have to get out of here. The thunder is rolling in the background, and I am up under some beautiful live oak trees, which ultimately could be the reason of my untimely death if I stay too long within a cemetery I really want to check out. But we're not going to let a little thunder and lightning scare us off just yet. And as I'm walking through, I just noticed a couple of unknown U.S. soldiers. Now just notice this monument. This is the U.S. monument to the men of the 2nd Brigade, 2nd Division, 13th Army Corps that fought at Fort Blakely on April the 9th, 1865. And some of those men are right here. So these are the men who fought and died at the Battle of Fort Blakely in siege of Spanish Fort. This is pretty cool. These are the U.S. soldiers, and this is very sombering. Wow, very neat. Okay, so we've got to be really quick. Spin you around. There you go. And that way you can see the beautiful American flag behind me. So, yeah, it's bearing down. It's thundering. It's lightning. It's just not raining yet. But there's something I want to check out over here before we get out of, oh, yeah, we got to hurry. Very quick. The last thing I want to check out is this other memorial to the Hunley and the crew of the Hunley. Then, the crew of the CSS Alabama who perished on an attack of the Kearsarge on June 19, 1864. The U.S. Navy, Marine Corps, and Confederate States Navy personnel have lost their lives in the Battle of Mobile Bay, and the burial site of Union and Confederate soldiers who fought in the Battle of Coffeyville in 1862 are buried right here. Pretty cool. But with that being said, and the beautiful mockingbird that's looking at me right now, hey buddy, he's guarding the graves of the soldiers. With all of that being said, and my little friend behind me, he just took off. Oh, no he didn't, there he is. Anyway, with all that being said, and my friend, we're going to get out of here because this lightning's getting a little bit too close for comfort, and it's time to go. So we will most definitely return to this awesome, awesome place and visit all of these men who you see behind me. So until next time, guys, keep preserving history, stay safe. We will see you on the next one. Okay, so I have been needing to pee. I've got a tinkle. I've really got a tinkle. I've been needing to tinkle for 3 hours. Oh my gosh, I love this place.